Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the fifth and final day of Flutter Quiz League 2020. And on behalf of Flutter Karachi and the team, we wish you a very happy Independence Day. So, to begin with, we have Nawal today here with us. Hello, Nawal. How are you?
Hello, Walid. I'm all good. How are you?
That's great. So, are you ready for the
Awesome.
talk?
Let's do it. We'll crush it.
Cool. So before I formally hand over to Nawal. So let's just go through that casual stuff that we do every talk. So just a little intro about Flutter. So what Flutter is like, there are a lot of definitions of Flutter around the world. So what my definition of Flutter is, it's a literal cross-platform UI tool. So why it's literal? Because it's not just Android and it's not just iOS. It's not just mobile. So it's for web, it's for desktop, it's for embedded, and it's overall cross-platform. And whatever device you compile on it, it compiles natively to that architecture. Along with that, it uses Dart as its core language. So you have a single code base, and you can manage different platforms through that. So what is Flutter Quiz League? So you guys have been seeing, most of you already know that you have been seeing that we have been doing events since last few days. So we have done 4 events, and this is today is the final session today by Nawal. And we had 5 amazing talks online, and each talk was of 30 minutes, which was followed by a quiz, a 15-minute quiz. Uh, the results and the winners of which are decided upon fastest finger first. So this was the initial agenda. So today is the last one, and the rules are simple. You have to attend the complete talk from the beginning to the end in order to be able to attend the quiz, because the quiz have been made by the speakers themselves, and all the questions of the quiz are from the talk. So in order to answer them, you need to attend the talk properly. Attempt the quiz as fast as possible. I have been repeating it a lot of times, and people are commenting, and people are reaching out to me saying that they have got 10 on 10 and still they are not winning. So guys, this is not about getting a 10 on 10. This is about getting maximum correct answers in minimum possible time. So if you guys have 6 or 7 correct answer within a minute or within 2 minutes, you have a very high chance of winning. So people, I always, I have been telling this in every event that uh, there was an event and there was a quiz in which the winner got 6 answers correct in 58 seconds. So he got just 6 answers correct. That was his percentage, 60%. But he did it in 58 seconds. That's why he was the winner. So that is the whole idea. The time is the game. Secondly, I do not recommend you to uh, open the quiz in an incognito window or a private window, because that will ask you to sign in to Google, and that will waste your time. So you need to open your browser, and you need to be signed in through Google beforehand, so that when you open the quiz, it directly jumps to the main thing, and you don't need to sign in. Otherwise, you will lose a precious few seconds, and that could cost you your winning. Once the league ends, we'll dispatch all the boxes to all the winners. That's how it goes. So today we have Nawal with us. Nawal, I got contacted to Nawal through Twitter, and I have seen her amazing work in Flutter and GDG Jada. So she's leading a community as well. She's a Women Techmaker Ambassador as well. She's the co-organizer in GDG there, and she's very good with designs. Today she'll be speaking about widgets. You will be learning a lot about the actual architecture and the actual thing about widgets. It's you will learn a lot, because that's one thing that you always you know work with in Flutter. So she's going to tell you a lot about it. So Nawal, over to you. Do you want me to share your screen now? So are you ready with the screen?
Yes, already.
Okay. So here you go, Nawal. Thank you so much, and I'll be out.
Okay. Thank you, Walid, for this great introduction. First and foremost, happy Independence Day, Pakistan. Wishing this beautiful country and its amazing people all the best. I'm happy to be celebrating today with Pakistan by talking about Flutter, and specifically if everything is really just widgets. Okay, so yeah, this is me, Nawal Alhamwi, and I'm a Flutterista. If you're interested to join, like if you identify as a female or non-binary, feel free to reach me out and I'll guide you through the whole process to join the Flutterista group. And yeah, I'm a Women Techniker Ambassador and the leader for the Jeddah Women Techniker chapter and the co-organizer at GDG Jeddah, and of course, a Flutter developer. So, okay, awesome. So for who is this talk? This talk is, do we have pointers? Yeah, we do. Awesome. I love pointers. Okay, so this talk is for the Flutter developers, Flutter enthusiasts, mobile application developers, students, teachers, you name it. Basically, it's for everyone. Okay, why to care? Now, well, I believe you need to care about today's talk, not because I said so, okay, but because for the following reasons. Like after this talk, you will learn in theory how to create performant applications. You will get to know the anatomy of the Flutter applications and, oops, yep, and you will be able to have like to use reusable objects, and you will be able to understand how to debug your apps so that you can have optimized the performant applications. Okay, so, okay, why did I put this iceberg picture over here? Well, basically, I mean, like when I started with Flutter, I thought that literally everything was a widget. So yeah, basically, I was here. I was at the tip of the iceberg, but like as time moved on, I discovered that there's actually there's a whole big bunch of the architecture underneath the widget layer. Now, now, you may be wondering what in the world is a widget. I'll tell you. Now, according to the Flutter documentation, widgets are the immutable description of a user interface. They are descriptive views. Technically speaking, they are Dart classes that represent your UI onto your screen. Now, according to the Oxford Dictionary, the word immutable means something that cannot be changed or will never ever change. So one question that you might be thinking of is that, well, Nawal, we understood that the UI changes, but the widgets don't. Actually, Flutter manages this concept using trees. I'll explain what is happening over here. So why are we using the concept of trees? I mean, like, why don't we use other type of data structure? Let me just state something over here that on why Flutter is referring its data or information as trees. If you developed applications using Flutter, you will realize that there is a hierarchical data structure, meaning that the data is organized in nodes and they're connected by branches. So you have a parent that may, okay, not all parents have children in terms of Flutter. You may have a parent that may have a child or even children. Now this structure, like this tree structure that we use in Flutter, resembles pretty much the structure of our applications. That's why we're referring in our talk. We'll be talking about we will be talking a lot about trees. Okay, so let's start first with the architecture. Now, as we can see here, that this is our architecture layers in the framework, in the Flutter framework. We interact most of the times here in the platform design specific widgets and the widget layer. Then we have the rendering and the rendering layer and the Dart UI library, where the developer won't edit or won't amend, but will definitely deal with these two layers, of course. Now we paint our pixels, or if I want to in an abstract sense, we paint our widgets on our screens using an API from the Dart UI library called the Canvas API. Okay. So types of trees. As you can see, we have 3 types of trees. So as I had said earlier, that the UI is mutable and widgets are immutable pieces of data that resembles your UI. Flutter manages this difference in concept using trees. So we have, as I said, 3 trees in Flutter that manages the state of the mutable UI inside of the immutable widgets. And these trees are namely the widget tree, element tree, and the render object tree. Okay, back to our iceberg. Now let's check the first tree over here. It's called the widget tree. Note that when you build up your UI's application, you're doing so in a declarative sense, meaning the sequence is crucial. It's like you're telling Flutter, put for me first a text in this screen, then under it put an image, maybe add some more text. So the expected UI will be in the same order as written. So you configure your UI with widgets, okay? And the role of a widget is to explain to the framework how the elements will be arranged. Whoa, Nawal, what are elements? I will explain. But let's for now stick to the widget tree, aka also known as the tip of the iceberg. So again, you are declaratively defining how your UI will look like. Widgets are the abstracted logic we see on our screen, whether it was layout, animation, styling, you name it. You create a widget by composing more widgets together. So the widget tree is composed, again, of nothing but several other composed widgets. The widget tree is an actual tree data structure in your code, and you can think of it as your structure of your Flutter application. Now in this tree, we actually have nodes where each node, okay, is a widget. And those nodes, or widgets in the Flutter case, are connected by their parent-child relationship. Now we can think of widgets as classes where they are blueprints for something bigger than them. So we can consider the widget tree as a blueprint tree of the elements tree, which will be rendered in the future. And I will explain everything in details more. Now, but first, let's agree on the fact that each widget behaves, of course, differently with the elements tree. But if we want to sum it up, the framework will ask the element tree, and we will see what is the element tree. Yeah, so the framework will ask the element tree to create an element for the requested widget. Let's say I want to create, I don't know, like a text widget. So in the widget tree, the widget tree will tell the framework, hey, please create for me a text widget. Then the framework will tell the element tree, please create a text element for this requested widget. Now, When a widget responds to a change in an element tree, this is called, or this is known as the widget's life cycle, because basically it will change and the state will change. So yeah, and the element tree. So what is an element? First, let's talk about the elements. Elements act like the manufacturer of a widget. So it like produces widget. What does that mean? Now, since Flutter is a declarative framework, the element here declares or instantiates a widget in a certain location in the tree. Again, why in a certain location in the tree? Because our the framework itself is declarative. So the element tree manages updating those immutable widgets. In that sense, we can consider the element as mutable component. Element trees make sure that the UI is one, changing and responding to these changes by being updated on your screens. So the element tree is responsible of what? What do you think? Of course, it's responsible of displaying the life cycle of these widgets on your screens. Now, element trees are there to make sure that when anything updates in your UI, things or actually widgets are well structured and organized. Moreover, the structure of our applications is defined by the fact that each widget, the structure of our applications is defined by the fact that for each widget, of course, there will be what element for it in the element tree. So originally, elements are actually what? What do you think? They are widgets that have been made real. Okay, they are not anymore blueprints. They are real and are mounted on the element tree. And for every element of a widget, there is a render object for it. And those render objects make up what? Yep, they make up the render tree, which we will talk about in a few more seconds. And of course, for every element, there is a reference. Now, this is very important. For every element, there is a reference of the widget configuration. In that sense, elements aren't recreated, but thus they are updated. Why? Because elements store a reference of the widget configuration. So let's say that I updated a widget in my material app widget. Let's say, for example, I edited the text, maybe. So what happens in such a case? The element only updates the reference to the widget instead of being destroyed and then created again. So the skeleton or the structure of the tree itself is the same, but it's amended. Now, to sum this up, only the widget gets rebuilt. However, let me just repeat this again. Only the widget gets rebuilt, but the element updates the widget's reference. That's it. Now, in this way, Flutter is considered to be having performant, optimized, fast applications. What's constantly being recreated are just what? Are just a bunch of cheap components compared to the elements or even the render object trees, which they're so much expensive. Of course, like blueprints are cheaper to create, unlike the tree itself that will be displayed on your screens. So in a conclusion, the element tree acts as a share point between the widget and between the widget tree and the render tree that we will talk about. The element tree makes sure that both trees, the widget tree and render object tree, are happily holding hands together and displaying your beautiful UI on your screens. Now, as I said, the last, sorry, there's a typo over here. It's not called the render tree, it's called the render object tree. It differs. So yeah, lastly, we have a special object called the render object, which is in the, it's inside the render tree, but basically, yeah. This tree is responsible of layouting, I don't know if this is a word, but basically it paints what you have declared on your screens. Okay, when you configure the widgets. So the render tree is responsible of declaring what you have created, or sorry, what you have configured or declared. Oh, and by the way, the render object in the render tree is responsible of giving constraints to the widgets that will be painted on the screen. So widgets, they're not free to choose whatever dimensions, if that's accurate. Yeah, so the widgets, they are always constrained by the render tree. The render tree gives each widget like a certain size for it. The actual painting on the screen takes, as I told you, the painting takes place here in the render tree. It's not in the element tree nor in the widget tree. It takes place here in the render tree. What happens in this tree is that like the whole process, painting and like the whole process of rendering your UI is handled by the framework itself. So we don't do anything. And it's, I mean, the developers, they rarely interact with it. Now, another point to mention is that we don't care about rendering our screens because, again, like as I told you, Flutter does it in the render object tree. We have classes in the render tree that use the render object, and each render object has a corresponding widget. Now, in a nutshell, render objects methods are responsible of painting those bits and bytes of pixels on your screen. And of course, as I mentioned, that in render objects, they define the sizes of their widgets. Note that the render objects do the actual painting of the pixels onto the screen. So this is why it's considered an expensive and a complex layer. Not only this, even that's why the developers they rarely interact with it because it's very complex and an expensive layer. So that's another reason why we have 3 trees instead of like 1 tree per application. We have 3 trees per a single application, so that we can reuse those expensive render objects in the render tree. Now, we can conclude from this explanation that we have first the widget tree, then the element tree, then lastly the render object tree. In this specific order, each tree is dependent on the other. We cannot see the widgets that we write in our IDEs if those widgets aren't rendered in the render tree by the render object trees. Yeah, so every tree is dependent on the other, and it flows in this order: widget tree, element tree, lastly the render tree. Okay, and another point I'd like to leave here is that we use the render object tree to paint our immutable widgets that exist inside the mutable element tree. What we're basically doing here is that like we're getting the best of both worlds. How are we getting the best of both worlds now? How are we like getting this? I'll tell you now. You make sure that the widgets can change their relationships with their with other widgets. Otherwise, the UI will get messed up, right? That's why the widgets are immutable. They cannot change. In fact, since widgets again, they are they are blueprints of your views or Dart classes, or that are responsible of displaying the widgets, I mean the components themselves on your screen. Uh, yep. So okay, so that's why the widgets are considered to be immutable, because blueprints are easier um, to create. So widgets are the only components in our trees, in our three trees, that need to get destroyed, then rebuilt, because it's easier, right? And the mutable element tree updates the changes of, of those immutable widgets. So yeah, we make sure we have this by the fact that widgets are what are immutable. And we make sure that the elements are mutable to change the state of these widgets. So the element tree is considered to be mutable because it changes the state of those immutable widgets. Like at the end of the day, we get the speed and safety of writing our UI via the mutable element tree and the immutable widget tree. Okay. Now, some may wonder, what if I don't have those trees? I mean, why? Why do we need them? Now, in that case, yeah. So in that case, you need to literally calculate coordinates, the coordinates of every single pixel on your screen. Not only this, but also you need to update those pixels. Can you believe this? So let's calculate. How many pixels do we have in a single screen or a frame, depending on your user's device? Exactly, it's hectic. Who would ever count every single pixel? I mean, like, who would ever deal with those pixels? That's why we have a high level abstractive declarative approach to build our UI. We build our UI with widgets, basically by the help of having three trees. So that's why it's very crucial for the framework itself to have trees. And another point I'd like to like leave here is that why is it important for us to know about the anatomy of trees? Unless you're extremely nerdy like me, it's good as software engineers to know what goes behind the scenes, to be able to fully understand how things actually work, and thus it can help us in tracking an error, or like tracking an error to its root base and be able to debug it. Okay. So yeah, we have the widget tree, the element tree, and the render object tree. Okay. So in a summary, we have three main steps to create our Flutter applications. The first step is the configuration that occurs in the widget tree. The second step is the life cycle. So basically, we deal with the life cycle of a widget in the element tree. Lastly is the like painting those um, updated, immutable widgets, by painting them on your screens. So in the widget tree, you configure your UI declaratively, since Flutter is a declarative framework. So when you configure your UI, you're writing your widgets. You're assigning the properties to those widgets. Afterwards, since, as I mentioned, we have first the widget tree, then the element tree, then the render object tree. So then afterwards, we deal with the element tree. We consider this element tree as the manufacturer or the management team in your application. It's responsible of the configured UI, which is the widgets, and and as I said, it's responsible of holding certain positions in the tree for those immutable widgets, and making sure that each child or even children knows or know uh, where are their parents. And of course, vice versa is also correct. So all of the updates and formation of the widgets occur in this type of the tree. Now, lastly, the render object tree is responsible mainly of painting the UI on the Canva um, of your screen. And of course, not only this, each parent, child, or even children knows its constraints, painting, composition, and even sizing. So the widgets over here, they get to know the constraints so that they don't take up the whole screen. Now, I promise you, this will be the last question. Okay, so why are we creating 3 trees? People may say, well, it's expensive. Like you're creating 3 different trees that will do one single application. Well, no. By building the UI in such a sense, okay, our end result will be applications that are very performant because the framework itself won't keep on destroying the expensive uh, objects in the render object tree and the expensive elements in the element tree. Not only this, we will reuse the components as well. So honestly speaking, I mean, I don't know how. Oh wow, 30 minutes exactly. I feel so proud. Honestly, I'd like to go more in depth into this, but yeah, 30 minutes it is. Please, if you have any questions, if you didn't understand something, reach me out. This is my Twitter handle, and definitely I'll be super happy to help you out. And yeah, thank you. Like I finished from my side. Thank you, Alid, for giving me this great opportunity to be speaking to the beautiful Paki people and talking about Flutter. So yeah,
Thank you, Nawal, for your great time. This was, one great talk, and people must have, if they have listened very carefully, they must have, known a lot about, what goes under the hood in Flutter. So, thank you so much, and we'll just see that if there are questions or if there are people who want to get in touch, they'll just ping you at any time. So
awesome.
I'll I'll just some people are saying that you share your profiles link. Should I share your LinkedIn profile here in the comments?
I don't mind, but I'm more like active on Twitter.
Okay, so
Uh,
I should I share your
I don't
Twitter?
mind. Yeah, it's fine. Anything. I can
Okay.
answer like anywhere, but I prefer Twitter more.
Okay, just let me share your Twitter link in the comments because people are asking for that.
Awesome.
Uh,
It's by the way, I don't know if the screen is still showing for the audience. My oh, I'm still
screen,
sharing. Yeah. So this is
screen,
my Twitter handle. Yeah.
screen is still up. Screen is still up.
Awesome. Yeah.
So guys, this is now the quiz time, and like I said, people who have already, already won. Just wait. Yep. So people who have already won the quiz before, they are not recommended to participate again, because we are into more giving chances to other people. So I'll be sharing the quiz link right now. It's 9:05, and after 15 minutes we'll end the quiz. So let's just share the quiz and the same in the chat. So guys, quiz has started, and you Guys, you can ask something to the speaker to their to the Twitter or to the social media channels. So like this was really timed, so we cannot go back to the presentation and do stuff. So you can just ask the same to on our Twitter. So thank you, Nawal. If you have anything else to say, so you this is the time now, and then we'll just this whole stream will auto end.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Walid, for holding this super awesome event. And yeah, Pakistani people enjoy your independence today and always. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.